At the same time, I think back to 1975, just before you escaped, and I wonder, if you had heard that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was coming to Turkey to negotiate your release, would you have thought that a workable prospect, that there was optimism there?
I actually would have loved it because Kareem is one of my dad's favorite basketball players. My dad went to the same high school that Kareem graduated from, where he was, a star even then. I would love to have him showing up. I don't think it would have helped. Again, having all of this notoriety and famous stars coming to help, it brings too much attention on the situation and adds a lot of X factors. I don't think you're going to be able to handle Vladimir Putin the way he did Kim Jong-un. And I think it's just going to add to Brittney's problems and the logistics of trying to bring her home. We have Bill Richardson, one of the most talented negotiators in the world, working to bring her home quietly behind the scenes. This is about face, about Russia not losing face, about Vladimir Putin not losing face. So if Dennis can help, that would be good. I don't think he should go. In fact, I think he should reconsider.
I think about your, again, escaping in 1975 while the machinations were ongoing behind the scenes. That the Turks had, I think, sentenced you to 4 years, and then they switched it to life, and then they switched it to 30. And if you hadn't escaped, Billy, do you think that you would maybe even still be there?
Well, I don't think I'd be alive, actually, because eventually I was there for 5 years and I was at the end of my road, one way or the other. After a while in prison, you get hardened in a way that you can't change, or you get broken in a way that you can't recover from. And I was at that point. I got very desperate. The American government was doing for me very much what the American government is trying to do right now for Brittney, which was negotiate a prisoner exchange treaty to bring Americans in foreign countries home. They've gotten that done, but they were working on it for years while I was there. And eventually I realized I can't do this anymore. One way or the other, I need to get out. I need to be free or dead, but I can't spend more time in prison. I don't think that's the situation now with Brittney. It hasn't come to that, but I hope for her sake that she never gets there, where that choice faces her.
Yeah, God forbid. It's been 6 months, not 5 years, but it's been 6 months of utter hell. If the other prisoners who've come home, Trevor Reed, et cetera, their descriptions have been pretty dire about the circumstances. I think Trevor Reed even said that he himself was put into a sort of a sanatorium as well, and he said it was brutal on him. It made me think of you. But do you think this is an embarrassment to the United States government? Do you think it's a nuisance, or do you think there could be some there?
I hope there's something good here. I don't know about embarrassment. I think governments are pretty much beyond that. Saving face means bringing her home and not having Russia looking bad in the process. That's a very tricky situation to balance out. One would hope, because the world is watching, the Russians are going to allow her to come home. And that's maybe part of this prisoner swap that I don't really, you got a merchant of death being sent home for an Olympic basketball star. It doesn't seem like a fair trade. But maybe to settle this down, the U.S. government is willing to do a lot of things to bring her and hopefully the other Americans who are in prison for similar charges. And they shouldn't be
Thank you for
left
mentioning
behind.
that, Billy. Thank you for mentioning that, because we do have Marine Paul Whelan, who's been there for 4 years. And then there's the teacher, Sarah Kravanek, and she's been there for 1 year as of this November, I believe. And again, those two have been there longer than Brittney Griner without all that attention. Whelan's had some, Sarah, very little. If Brittney comes home and there is prisoner swap, just 1-to-1, and those two are left behind, what are we to make of that?
Well, I guess we make it, it's who you know. And she knows important people. And the fact that she has such a high profile as a basketball star probably makes her more valuable for the United States to bring her home to defuse the situation, which is the one reason why I think the opposite may be happening. As more people come in, as Dennis Rodman and other people come in and get their names into all of this and into the mix, I think it gives the Russians and other people who are playing the balance back and forth here gives them more ammunition to use, as opposed to just having a quiet negotiation with Bill Richardson bringing her home.
Yeah, and he may very well be deep in the throes of doing that. Billy Hayes, it's always good to talk to you, and I'm glad you're home. Thank you for being here tonight.
I'm glad I'm home. I wish we weren't talking tonight. I wish she had come home sooner. Thank you very much for keeping the attention on her. That will help.
Amen. And we'll see you again, I hope soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.